Hi, welcome to this edition of YouTube Live by ThePrint. And today we are asking the question, what happens to US-India bilateral trade and investment relationship in the wake of the US government's intention to withdraw the GSP benefits or what is called as a preferential trade benefit from India? We are already having a lot of questions coming on this. The first question that we have, and unfortunately we don't have the name of the person, that what happens, is this a government's foreign policy failure? Well, this is not really a foreign policy issue per se. This is an issue that is driven and dealt by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. This is trade and commerce issue. However, trade relationship also has a lot of bearing on a country's foreign policy with other countries. So this is not really a foreign policy failure. In trade, a lot of negotiations do take place. We have seen how for last several years now, almost over 18 years now, that that globally many countries are trying to have a global trade deal under the World Trade Organization. And so when you do a lot of negotiations bilaterally, let's remember that trade has a bearing on investments, and investments in return give rise to a lot of jobs, which is why trade is a very sensitive matter. Trade is also a matter where you open up your markets to products coming from outside, and hence you need to also understand how you safeguard your domestic investors, your domestic industry from those kind of products that are coming from outside. We have a question. Do you think that it is somewhat related to India taking MFN from Pakistan? Well, this is a nice linkage. However, there is no sort of link to both the facts. The most favored nation status was done on a reciprocal basis. That is something that the WTO, the World Trade Organization based out of Geneva, tells you to do. And since you both are members of WTO, MFN is given naturally by both partners to another partner. However, at any given point of time, if you show a valid reason through a customs notification, MFN status, compared to that, GSP is not something that is program is a program that is exclusively run by the US government, and they have been doing that with India. This program was going on since 1976. Now, just for your information, under GSP, about 5,111 products are covered. However, India was using GSP to get the benefits only on 1,900 tariff lines or products as such. How will it affect the Indian economy? Well, this will not affect the Indian economy at all. Let us also be clear that the GSP benefits we are talking right now out here is about $200 million. However, having said that, it is true that GSP has a lot of political symbolism attached to it, because when US grants GSP to a country, it is largely seen as a country which US sees to be very close in terms of trade and investment relationships. So yes, this might not affect the economy. It will not affect the economy, to put it simply. However, this will definitely have a bearing on the political scenario at this point of time when the Indian government is approaching elections, because let's also understand, out of the 1,900 products that are covered under GSP, from textiles to engineering goods, they do have all these sectors, all these export-oriented sectors are labor-intensive sectors, which is why when you withdraw those benefits, jobs might get affected. And this is probably the only time when the Modi government cannot afford to have any impact as far as jobs are concerned. We are having another question, and again, unfortunately, we are not having the name of the person, but it's a very good question. Which major economies receive concessions under GSP? Well, there are several countries that do get GSP concessions. The US government, specifically the Office of the US Trade Representative, the USTR, reviews them annually as to which all countries should get GSP and which all countries should not. Now, there is a particular criteria in which that country has to fall to be able to get the GSP benefits. And we've seen that India's economy has grown to almost 8%. Its exports are growing, which is why US probably feels that this is not the time to give GSP benefits to India. And let me remind you that this time US is reviewing GSP benefits to be given to India as well as Turkey. So they are reviewing for both countries. There's also a question as to how the GSP and how the opposition is going to respond to this. Well, frankly speaking, I do not know the opposition will have any issue on this or not. However, it remains to be seen what kind of relationship or the so-called bonhomie that both the leaders, US President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Modi has at this point of time, because let me tell you, according to sources in the Ministry of External Affairs, they have told me that India was about to give a favorable trade package to the US, which it is now putting on hold. It is putting on hold because India was hopeful that India will not withdraw GSP benefits from India, especially at this juncture. There are any official statements to it? Well, no, there are no official statements to it apart from the statement that the USTR has already issued. However, in the morning, today in early morning, Commerce Secretary Mr. Anup Wadhawa had addressed the media, and he has said that the impact will not be much, and neither will India look at imposing retaliatory tariffs on US products. We have another question as of now: what are the benefits that India enjoys when it comes to trade with the US? Well, in terms of benefits, there are not much apart from this GSP scheme, and it remains to be seen whether it is withdrawn or not. Let me also highlight out here that we have a 60 days or about 2 month window at this. So to precisely answer the previous question also, the opposition might want to wait for about 60 days and see whether it comes into effect, or maybe the US delays or postpones its decision. We have a question from Arun Dharani Pragada. Is GSP same like FTA or MFN? Well, not really. These are like 3 different disciplines under trade that we are talking about. So GSP is a scheme that is run by the US government. US has granted this to India since 1976. This is an exclusive trade program run by the Office of the US Trade Representative. FTA is a free trade agreement that you negotiate with a partner country, under which you give duty-free access to several of the products from the country that you import the goods from. And MFN is a most favored nation trade status that is granted by virtue of being member of the World Trade Organization. So if you are a World Trade Organization member, and so is another country, ABC, so by virtue of being member of that multilateral trade body, you need to give MFN to all other countries. However, what I'm sure you're referring to what India did to Pakistan, citing national security sources, you always have the right to withdraw the MFN trade status from your partner country till the time normalcy sets in, until the time that government is assured that no trade can flow in normally. We have a question from Mr. Zafar Hussain. Economy and economic issues have been put on hold for the time being in the country. Issues like this will bring economy back in the election narrative. Well, I guess that is more of your opinion than a question. Having said that, let me also answer that, yes, this is an election season, which is why all the more maybe people will be keen on GSP. Although let's not forget that not just under President Trump, but under President Obama also this issue has come up, whether or not India should enjoy GSP benefits, considering the fact that its economy is growing by almost 8%. We have another question from Wasim. Has trade spread to India? Can there be reversal after Trump? Well, this is not really a trade war per se. Trade is something that always, it encompasses several sensitive issues, as I said, because it also has a direct linkage to your domestic production, domestic investors, and your locally made products. So this is to answer your question, no, this is not a trade war. However, we've seen that under the Trump administration, US has made clear that it wants certain of its concerns addressed. Now, let me also remind the viewers out here that US has been extremely upset with some of the steps that the Indian government has taken in the last 4 or 5 years in terms of data localization, e-commerce, and capping of prices of medical devices. So we are taking the last question from Mr. Radosky. Can unilaterally imposing 200% tariff on Pakistani imports breach WTO rules? Well, not really. Although we are not discussing Pakistan or WTO rules out here, however, we do definitely have the right to sort of impose 200% tariff when we withdraw the MFN status from our country. Thank you for joining us for this session of YouTube Live of The Print. We hope to see you again. Thank you.